Hello there, product people. Welcome to the show that supercharges your abilities to become better thinkers, makers, and leaders. I'm your host, Alsawi, and I'm thrilled to have you join me for this exciting episode of Product People. In this episode, we'll explore revenue models, ethical profitability, the role of trust in business, structuring economies, the philosophy of Islamic financing, securing business funding, the importance of experimentation, the impact of monetary policies on people's lives, and the decentralization of decision making. Wow, that was a long list. So if you're in finance, a product person, an entrepreneur, or simply someone curious about how money, products, and leadership intersect to influence our daily lives, you're in the right place. As always, you can expect an honest conversation, valuable insights, and meaningful advice that can fuel your own journey with product, design, and leadership. Let's dive right in. Today, I'm joined by a financial advisor, lecturer, and ethical leader. He's the founder of Muslim Money Matters and serves as a counselor to several Islamic finance institutions. Additionally, he's a member of a working group at AAOIFI, and before that, he was a consultant lecturer for the Master of Islamic Banking and Finance course at La Trobe University. Our guest is also the host of the Islamic Finance podcast, which examines ideas that impact our economy and financial system based on values and ethical principles. He hails originally from Bosnia and enjoys reading, traveling, learning about history, and trying new food. Without further ado, let's welcome Almir Colan to the Product People podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It is indeed my pleasure to be today with you.
I think a great way to know you better is by asking you about your favorite food and your favorite travel destination and the reasons behind your picks.
So I was born in Bosnia, Sarajevo, and I used to live in the old part of Sarajevo, which is very famous for food called cevapi. It's a kind of a mince meat made in a special bread in a special way. So as I would normally travel to school in the morning, you would go through this old market, and it would be filled with the smell of from bakeries from everywhere. And so everybody, whoever goes through that old part, their favorite food is always cevapi. This is a very like kufte, they would say. It's like kufte or adana if you are Turkish. It's just something special to eat that food at that particular place in Sarajevo. Very famous. Even in the other part of Sarajevo, that food doesn't taste the same. So I usually say to my friends, you only eat this food at this old city. And with that food, usually traditional food, you have few additional things that go very nicely with that. So we have another sweet that usually go complementary with that is tufaha from apple, which is the cooked apple in the syrup filled with the cream and the walnuts. And so these two things together, you feel like you are in the heaven when you eat. There are other nice things. You ask about my favorite places. Obviously, one is Bosnia, another one is Turkey, Istanbul. I really enjoy Istanbul. Such a rich culture, and food is great there as well. You have, you go there and you just look at the city. It's been there for thousands of years, and then you come across a nice, beautiful dish that's been cooked and prepared for thousands of years. And it's going to be good because it wouldn't survive that long, the same thing, without it being something really special. So Bosnia, Turkey, these are the two my top favorite destinations. But, everywhere you can find something beautiful and interesting. Last week, just over the weekend, I was in Brisbane with my wife, and we were just driving through the mountains in Queensland. And it's just, whenever you go to different part of the world, you see the difference. The colors are different. If I compare that even with some parts of Australia or Bosnia or anywhere else, just the trees are different. The environment, the air, the noise, everything is a little bit different. And so that all kind of reminds you of where you are, what's going on around you, of the beauty. You see everything with the new eyes, with more appreciation. Everywhere there is some nice, interesting things, but my favorite is, and I think for most of the people, where they are born, they are more sort of, they feel that river, the ground, the trees, the environment, the culture, the everything, So these are the two top destinations.
Thank you for sharing. I wanted to level set for our listeners on what is Islamic financing and how it differs from, I guess, what we would call conventional financing.
So to think about the word Islamic finance might be a little bit confusing. Oh, is this something for Muslims? What is this, some special? What do you say, some prayer before you do the thing? What is this? So really, when you think about it, when we today say finance, it's not just the finance. There is a way embedded in the way we do finance today. And the way we do finance today, most of the time, like when we go to the bank or when bank give us the loan or something like that, it would be something that was not done in the history, in the past. In fact, anybody who is coming from Christian background or Jewish background or this kind of religious background would be familiar with prohibitions of, for example, usury. In fact, church used to prohibit that usury. The Shakespeare wrote the book about merchants of Venice who would be giving loans. Name was Shylock. He would give loans to the Christians who didn't pay that loan, then they would get in trouble, and these bankers at that time, they would be hated. So everybody was against it. Church was against it. Everybody was against these money lenders. Even in the Bible, you have quotes where Jesus threw out the money lenders. In the Jewish scriptures, the same. In Islamic Quran, the same. You go to Aristotle, you go to the philosophers, you go to any place, you always find this certain ethics regarding the money. And so throughout the history, there was always certain ban on usury, on interest, on unethical behavior. And there was emphasis in the communities because in the past, for community to survive, you needed to work together, to cooperate. There was interdependence. And therefore, the finance had to be a bridge that connects the people. So people would usually go into the partnership. You want to get some goods, somebody will give you some money, and then you would sell it and share the profit. So the finance used to be much more win-win. We are on the same boat. We take a risk together to do something and we share in the profit. Where today financing became more disconnected. So I give you money and I have a guaranteed return on that money profit. So at the end of the day, even if you don't succeed in business, I still am guaranteed the profit. And this is through the instrument of interest. So the interest in reality is, as Aristotle said, it's when money gives the birth. You exchange, I give you money, I get more money. And so money doesn't grow organically from creating tangible benefit, but simply by circulating by itself. And so in all religions, this was prohibited. Unfortunately, after some time, a lot of religious texts or people in general forgot some of these things and therefore they don't practice it. But look at any book, you'll find strict rules about dealing with money and finance. And so Islamic finance is upholding still this traditional view that you cannot sell money as a commodity. Money is there to help us buy and sell, to facilitate trade. As one of the scholars of Islam, Imam Ghazali, said, it's a judge of other commodities, meaning it tells you what is what in the market. But that judge helps us to buy and sell, to facilitate transactions, and it is not from commodities themselves. It's not something that you start now trading as any other commodity. And so we look at the money is not something that just should be exchanged for itself for a profit, but it should become something that is useful in itself, something where you are investing in a real economic activities, products, services, something that is benefiting somebody. And then your profit comes from the result of the benefit that you are creating. So what that does basically in a nutshell is creates a mindset where for you to profit, it's not just by lending money. You need to be involved in some way. I'll give you an simple example. Today, you have a simple baker who wakes up 3 o'clock in the morning to prepare everything for the process of making a bread. And then he works in a bakery under the hot conditions for the all day for you to have a bread. Now, he works very hard, but the banker who just gives him a loan makes more money from him. He makes less, banker who gave him money. And so you have this situation where simply the hard work, labor are not rewarded as much as just moving money around. So then you have a car company that manufactures the car, but they make more money by giving the credit or loans for that car. So there's something fundamentally wrong there where the labor and real world, real economy is not anymore valued. And so, unfortunately, that can create an incentivize making money from just money by itself. And that's why what we see now, we have this rise of financialized economy where financial services are growing rapidly and the debt is growing, where the real things are stagnating. And so what Islamic finance trying to do is deleverage the system and focus attention, focus money and everything, profit-making incentives to the real economy that creates products and services, wholesome products and services that we are in need of, and does not reward just passive way of making money without any hard work, without any productive, without purposes, without any taking risk in real economy. So it's a little bit of a big overview. I don't know if I was able to capture some idea or philosophy.
It was perfect. Thank you so much for that intro. You spoke about bridging and connecting people, and I want to ask you about the passions that you have. I know you're passionate about leadership, finance, and also corporate governance. And within that framework of Islamic ethics and values, how do you see these three things intersect?
I see that these things intersect in a way that they build trust among people. You know, today, when you look at where we are as a society, there is a breakdown in just how connected we are. People are more and more broken down in individuals in the society, just a bunch of individuals who are, you know, everybody get their Uber app, food is delivered to them, you have your own food, I have my own screen. We are kind of separate and everybody is like for themselves living. Families are breaking down, communities are breaking down. We are just connected through maybe what we do or somehow through government or something like that or geography, but there is a breakdown in just the way that we are living. So more natural way in line with the human side. You see, this is the problem of the world view where the materialism is the goal, main thing, right? And so when you frame the world just through materialism, okay, then you strip human from other aspects that makes him human. There is a spirituality, there is morality, there is ethics, there is other intangible love, there is a connection, there is so many things that makes human that you lose if you don't address it, if you don't have tools or a language or a methods to address this in the humanity. And so by just focusing on material things, you remove these things. Now, how do you bring this thing together? How do you bring the society and everything? You need to structure everything where people start now working together as a community. And so today, for people to work together, whether it's a corporation or to create a product or just to interact with each other, there is a trust, certain element of trust and care that is lost. So when you're talking about corporate governance, it came as a result of people not trusting each other to do a job that they say they're going to be doing. This is what they call agency dilemma. That's why this famous story of the Prophet Muhammad when he married his wife, Khadija. One thing she noticed and how she got interested with him is that when he was given task to do some business for her as a manager of her business, agent for her business, he was unusually more profitable. And that means honest in his dealings. Because of this agency dilemma, later on, Adam Smith and others talking about these issues, they started creating this whole foundation of governance where you start basically putting certain system, which is not a bad idea, but it needs to be done in the right way so to create a trust. And so when we are building that society that is built on trust, mutual cooperation, it takes a different outlook at the world. You know, how do you actually lead? How do you lead? What's the purpose of the leader? Is to do good, right? So you have a trust. You have to lead by doing good, by doing something that is right. I'll give you a very simple example how people used to do it back in those days before everything became just about numeric growth. You would have, if you go to the market of, let's say, whether it's Bosnia or Indonesia or Istanbul or Egypt, you would find in every of these markets, when society was connected, a same story. And the story goes something like this. Customer went to the shop in the market to buy something from that shop. And the shopkeeper say, don't buy from me. Buy from the neighbor, my neighbor, this other shop, because my neighbor didn't sell anything today. I sold already something. Go buy from him. Now, if you know these markets, usually the way that these markets work, even now, is they usually cluster the same thing. So you go to Istanbul Grand Bazaar, there is one section sell textile, another section sell gold, spices, whatever. So they're selling pretty much the same thing. It doesn't really matter for the person. But think of the society where somebody say, my profit is not, I already made for today profit, go to this person. Just think of that person mindset, how they're thinking about themselves. First of all, they notice that their neighbor didn't make a profit. That makes them very close. Now, if they care more about this neighbor, that they get it and so on, like how likely is that person to cheat, to be unethical, if he is just giving up his own profit for the sake of doing the neighborly favor? Like, can you imagine the rest of how he is behaving in that market with the other people, with everybody? So he's noticing, he's connected. He wished them what he wished for himself. He's a great neighbor. He can be trusted because he valued that neighbor relationship, how he feels more than a profit. You see that intangible thing that you don't see in today's society. So when we are talking about the way of structuring economy, the way of leading in this economy, it's leading with a different frame of mind. It's leading by, prioritizing all of these other components of what makes human good neighbor, good human being, and not being possessed by wealth, possessed by possession. It's good to possess things, but don't be possessed by them. Don't put them in your heart. And so this is a type of, I think, when you are structuring and when you are thinking about architecture of our economy and the relationships that we have, it requires people like that to lead, to put foundations of the businesses, of the companies that have all of these stakeholders in mind. That person will be taking care of the environment. He's not going to pollute the river or air or destroy. He cares about everybody. He will feed a dog or a cat on the street. That's why you see in Istanbul, beautiful place to visit. You see little things for the cats and dogs to drink water. When the water rain goes, they made it in the street, a holes which fills up for the animals to drink water. That's why they call, for example, Istanbul city of cats. So from the little cat to the human beings, everybody, you had these stories. And so for me, that is why I think people getting into the business, into the doing things where you want to benefit people, inspired by the teachings. In Islam, we have the teachings that the best of you are those who benefit others the most. So this is our religion, what it teaches, that you are here on the mission to do good, and you are judged how well you do that. And of course, you can't be judged except by how, when you are tested in this market and life, how you're behaving to others. It's easy to say, I'm the best person, but you really show your true character, where your heart is when something is tested. And the worst type of a prison that we have is this idea that you are not just disconnected, but you are in the constant fear. Because what this way of living does to you is liberates you from the fear. Because the worst thing person can be is that situation, I'm by myself, nobody care about me, I don't care about anybody else, and then you are alone. But imagine living in this environment where you care about your neighbor care about you as well. They got your back. It's much more relaxed life. It's much more enjoyable to live, to enjoy. Then you go for that nice food that we talked about. So you will enjoy life at deeper level. You enjoy the moment, So this is where these topics somehow come together to shape the way we live life. And the commerce doesn't become just about numeric growth.
Great. Thank you for sharing. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about how product people are often great at discovering the right problems, but a lot of them struggle with creating a successful revenue model for their products. So where should they start? What is the sequence of questions, or what should they ask themselves when?
This is a method that you have few components as you highlighted there. So one thing that today is easy to forget is that what's the problem I'm trying to solve? So you hit the nail in the head there. Like, let's say these days, especially with the technology, some buzzword technology would come, and then everybody would, like when the blockchain started, everybody was like, oh, I'm going to take a blockchain and it's going to solve, okay, let me figure out what am I going to solve? Oh, I'm going to solve this. Or like AI now. Oh, I'm just going to take ChatGPT GPT and plug it into something, and it will be great, profitable engine for me. So this usually, you see, doesn't work, because you don't take computer or a Word file and say, I'm gonna this will be a solution for some problem. So it's like a tool in a search of solution. Another thing, you obviously want to solve the problem, but you want to ask yourself, do people realize that this is a problem? Like, is this a real problem? And if there is a solution, will anybody pay for it? So I guess what you want to do is, as early as possible, and this is not me, this is like every entrepreneur, whoever had anything with startup, is get out with the product as soon as you can. So every friend of yours, once you say, oh, I want to make now XYZ, what's your friend going to do? Everybody will say, go ahead. Yes, we want this. This is great idea. But that doesn't mean anything. They just don't want to break your heart. So what you want to do is you want to create what it's called minimum viable product. Create a minimum viable product and immediately test it in the market. You're going to get two things. Number one, you will immediately know if anybody is interested in that. Number two, you will get immediate feedback, and this is what you should be getting your ear very close to ground, is this, am I hitting the right thing here? Is this going to go somewhere? So I remember somebody was saying when they made Instagram, it was like an app with 100 different features, and it didn't work. Then they say, let's remove. What is it people use? Oh, they use photo sharing. So they strip it out of all of it except photo sharing, and then it became something. So I think by immediately preparing something, putting into practice, putting in front of the customers, you immediately know, is anybody going to pay for this? Because it doesn't make any sense if in business to make a product that maybe just in your mind is just a solution for something, but nobody really wants to pay. So you have to give yourself some time. You have to listen to the feedback and say, like, is there a business here? Is this monetizable? Or is this just going to be a hobby or, something I like to do on the side? This is what I would usually think. Just get on with a minimum viable product ahead of your customer, and that will tell you a real story. Is there a business there? Is anybody going to pay? Or is there a need to improve something? So you will immediately get that feedback very early.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned some of the common pitfalls. One of them is not having that clear understanding of the problem that you're trying to solve. Is there any other common pitfalls that you see, especially for new business owners?
You need to change. You need to know the core of really what, and again, this is something very well known to business community, which is that what is the really business you are in? I remember, again, very commonly cite a story, but one of the founders of Netflix, he came to Melbourne some years ago, and I asked him, like, what are you going to do when this streaming business maybe starts, like people wearing those glasses, or, they beaming like in the, Elon Musk Neuralink in your head, and how are you going to change with technology? He says, we are not in technology. And he told us the story of, when they offered to sell Netflix to the Blockbuster, and Blockbuster refused. At that time, Blockbuster was a giant with the brick and mortar businesses, and they didn't want this. What is this? They were kind of underestimating. And he said to me, like, what we knew at that time that Blockbuster didn't realize is that we are not in the business of selling DVDs or now in streaming. He says, we are in the business of storytelling. And he said, for us, doesn't matter what's the new technology. We're not stuck on technology. He said, what we understand from people is that people always wanted to gather around the fire and tell each other a story. So we are in the storytelling business. And so by understanding what's really the business you are in, you will not care about medium or technology. So business who thinks that they are just in a DVD and VHS tape renting business, they will not adjust to the next technology, or they will just try to sell better DVDs, cram more things on that DVD, when it's a dying business. So it's a similar idea here. What is really the business that you are in? Like, what's your core business that you're trying to do? And then it's necessary that you will have to evolve. So paying attention to what needs to change, going a little bit deeper, I think it's one of those things that often kills the idea. You get stuck on the wrong things that needs to change, things that need to go. You need to let go of these things and hold on to the core idea and run with that.
Thank you for sharing. We're going to take a short break, and when we're back, I'll be asking you about principles in business. Hey there, my amazing product people. If you're trying to find your own story with product, design, and leadership, gain a new perspective on being human in a soulless corporate world, and possibly have a good laugh in the process, you can grab your very own copy of my latest book, Product People, A Journal of Laughter and Tears. It's available on Amazon in all formats right now. Happy reading. All right, let's continue where we left off. I wanted to ask you about financial advice more from the angle that you mentioned earlier about this concept of pragmatism and materialism. And, some of that advice, some perhaps is better than others. So one of the common ones that is always out there is that for you to be wealthy, you have to be extremely pragmatic. Sometimes people translate that to you can't have any sort of principles, morality, ethics, should not be even on your mind. You need to love money for the sake of money because principles are going to get in your way, or at least that's what the advice says. So what's your take on this type of financial advice? What are some of the advice out there that you perhaps disagree with?
This type of advice comes from the place of people who are in a state of fear for their provisions in life. They might be also lonely. This might be the worldview that they are exposed to. This is how they think the world is. And the reason usually for this particular type of worldview is because they behave like that. So they don't care about anybody and they think nobody cares about them. So if I'm tomorrow not able to feed myself, then who's going to come to my aid? Nobody. So they put everything on their shoulders. So I need to be ruthless. I need to think of myself. So that's that individualistic mindset that I said earlier. Now, I'll tell you where that comes from, how that works. So I don't know if it ever happens to you, but like a few years ago, my daughter bought a car, first car that she bought, Honda Civic. And until that moment, I never seen Honda Civic on the road. But after she got it, I could suddenly see so many Honda Civics on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I got married, my first car was a Lada. I'm in Australia and I somehow I'm a student, I just came to Australia and I don't have too much money. So I go and I find, okay, this cheap car, Russian Lada, a very tough car, not very popular in Australia. So I buy the Lada. As soon as I bought Lada, I see there are other Ladas on the street. So what I'm saying is that sometimes things in life, you only start noticing when you focus on them. And then they become everywhere. So for example, person who is, let's say, not involved in the community, does not help anybody, doesn't give charity, doesn't care about other people, just care of himself. What he notices, people like that, nobody else cares, nobody else. Everybody else is just working in their own interest. So he starts living in the constant fear that everybody in the world is like that. Unlike person who is charitable, involved in the community, gives, is honest. And so what he is noticing, he says, look how many good people there are around. Even if something happens to me, there are good people around. So just based on that, he will live. When it comes then to the business, growing up with that capitalistic, materialistic worldview that only thinks and believes in the numbers, the life becomes very lonely, very unfulfilled. The things like blessings of money, being content with what you have, it doesn't exist. So you enter the mode of living where you always want the next thing. As soon as you get that next thing, you want another one. So you never want what you have. You always want what you don't have, which is the next thing. Like in that movie, the Wall Street movie, there is this guy who collapsed the bank during the global financial crisis, and for no reason he demolished one of these banks. And the guy commits suicide, whose bank was destroyed. And so the young man who was mentee of this person asked him, like, when is it enough? Like, do you have a number after which you wouldn't be so brutal, destroying businesses, just so you get more and more money? Like, is there a number after which you would be satisfied? He says, yes, there is a number. He said, what is the number? And he tells him the number is more. There is no number. And this is why our Prophet Muhammad, he said something very interesting. He said, the son of Adam, meaning the son of man, will never be satisfied. Even if he has a mountain of gold, he wants another mountain of gold. What will satisfy him is the dust of his grave. So this appetite for more and more. Remember, if we believe that we were in paradise, having everything except little peace, and the devil tempted us with that peace, that's the one we are really missing, right? So you have everything in paradise, yet the human nature is gullible to some degree, and it's easily tricked to have another piece. So now imagine we are living here, not in paradise, where we don't have everything. And the same whisper is there, you want more of this, more of this. So the problem is this heart is totally controlled by those desires and fears. So this is where this mentality comes from. It's really something that is driven by fear, driven by appetite. That's not the game. The game is to content, to be happy with what you have. And so when you are running a business, what the purpose of the business is? The business purpose can be great. Everything that we use is produced by business. Think about that. Businesses really solve the problem in society. Business number one gives us this technology we communicate with. It's through business. The internet, the chair I'm sitting on, the clothes I'm wearing, the food I had today, everything is done through business. Now, that business also employs people so that people can not just solve the problem for us, but they are then allowed with dignity to feed their family, provide a livelihood, and so on. And then the whole trade, when we sell these products and people buying and sell, allows us to earn more even than we need to help people who are unable maybe to help themselves. And that gives us opportunity to be charitable with others and share with what we have from something that we earn. So business can have a beautiful purpose, that we create a product that are beneficial to the people. There is a study done how much utility of money you have. So for example, first $100,000 most utility. But once you reach another couple of 100,000 a year or $1 million, like every dollar after that, what extra I usually say to my kid, here's the like $50, $100, go to the supermarket. You can buy anything. You can't eat that many chocolates and, so think about it. How much you can put in your stomach. How much square meters can you occupy when you sleep in your bed? It's still, you are the same person. Doesn't matter, So utility of money starts significantly dropping. You can't spend it. Whether you have now 100 million or 100 billion, your lifestyle, what you can get, it's not there anymore. Why squeeze every cent? And this is the problem with today's product, is that everything is judged. You are shrewd businessman if you can deceive more people. If you can make a product that today you are the good businessman, shrewd businessman, if you are smart in a sense, you're tricking somebody something. You extract the maximum. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean you make a best product that serves humanity and so on. No, it means basically you create, and this is what a lot of businesses today are creating, product that just looks real, and it's charged maximum, but in reality it's not real. You look at the food we eat today. It's produced it's synthetic in a lab. You buy yogurt, there is no yogurt in that food. You buy sometimes this chocolate bar, it's just mixed with the sugar, fat, and some chemicals in the lab. So they just look real. Strawberry that you feel in that cake, if there's no strawberry, it's something in a lab cookie. So you're asking yourself, do we have to? Does it have to be like this? So this kind of a culture that we see impact. I work sometimes with some of the schools. You see today every second child is sick from something. Peanut allergy, milk allergy. 30% of kids, they have some allergy on food. Why? Because we are making the food not for the human consumption. I was reading the corn that they make in US. It's through the substitutes for ethanol, mainly, for the machines. And then they put it into every other food just because there are substitutes, not because you need it or it's good for you. And so this incentivization of the profit, where your welfare is the last concern of a business, that's a destruction. That's the way we have now engaged, where you don't care about your product, you don't care about that customer, and certainly you don't care about every competition because you want to destroy the competition. You just want to demolish everybody as a competition. And you are then the best businessman because you destroy everybody. And go back to the first story we said about the person who gives up his profit because the neighbor didn't make profit. This builds different two worlds. And your product as a business just shows what's in your heart, how you see everybody else. This is, I would say, be in a business that really benefit others the most, as I said. Try to be and have a mindset of generosity, partnership, mutual cooperation. Create the things that you would feed to your children, you would give to your neighbors, to your parents, that you would treat everybody from that perspective. And then you will see that the whole world open to you.
Thank you for that. I really like your perspective on changing this view of this zero-sum game and moving towards a partnership and a mutually beneficial model. I wanted to ask you about, when we're building products, one of the the things we think about is debt and financial debt in general, and how should you approach it. How should we think of debt, especially as a means to grow something or build something? What should we, or how should we frame this idea of financial debt?
If you look at the world currently, like when people, who are the people who build products that we use today? What are some of the popular products that every one of us is using today? What you'll find that most of those companies started through, not through debt actually. They started through equity, through partnership, through somebody risking some money on somebody on some idea. And so that's why in investment they call them angel investor. I don't know if you heard that term. Angel investor here means somebody who doesn't even care if you're going to make profit or not. They are your, like they call it like angel. And so these are the people who are so kind. So they just believe in you. They just want to give you money, even if they lose that money. And then they have rounds of funding. They say pre-seed, seed. What this means is that they think of the money that they're putting in your business as a seed. You put a seed, like let's say you have an orange. You put a seed in the ground. How many oranges will you get? You can't count. If that seed succeeds, how many oranges you gonna get? Right? As somebody said, you can count the seeds in the orange, but you cannot count oranges in a seed, because that grows into one tree, another orange, another seed, another. You don't have. So idea is to think of it like that you put some equity in the business, and that is something that grows. So that you partner with somebody. Now, whether you talk about today any product, from the Facebook to the Uber, to any startup, they always focus on equity. These startup funds, Sequoia or whatever, they always will be risking it with the business to grow. Now they just focus on high level, fast, scalable businesses, which is another one problem of that industry. But when the debt usually comes when the business is already at a more established, mature phase, where it has some collateral or cash flow, that in case you don't pay for something, they will take from you. Okay, so this is a relationship which sometimes people find themselves, like especially the small business people, the small business owners, they might not have capital to fund certain things. So unfortunately, we live in a society where all of the products that are focused is just structured in a way of like a loans, which I said before. Like I'll give you a typical example. Small business needs the cash, and then they have invoices that are due from other people who that they are maybe supplying something. Okay, so those invoices they might not get paid in a month or two or three. So there are companies that now you can sell these invoices, called factoring. And so what they do, they give you maybe 90% of what is due, they take 10% or something. So already that means that just because you can't wait a month or two and you need cash flow, you are selling, you are immediately they're taking off 10% or 5% from everything, from your margin, So there is no easy solution. People sometimes are desperate, but that adds to your cost, to profitability from everything, because person is not really partnering with you. But strictly speaking, if they are giving you some product, maybe that will increase, like say you need machine to do business better, or you need something that, and they in some way, if they could involve with you, that's much better way. This is what we call trade-based financing, where they maybe buy something, they sell you maybe a little bit higher, but at least it's for your productive purposes, that increases efficiency of your business and has an impact on the actual running of a business. All of these things are more fair ways. We believe that anything that is more connected to your business, to helping you deliver that business, is a preferred way. Just borrowing money, or just that kind of a debt lender borrower relationship, we don't encourage it. We don't believe that that's the right relationship to have with people.
When it comes to starting a business, securing funding is typically something that a lot of people see as a significant hurdle. Now, curiously, at least in my conversations, when I ask people how would they use the money, so I tell them, okay, well, assume you have it. What would you use it for? Usually the answer is not clear. They don't have a clear answer for you.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get your thoughts. How can we tackle this process of raising money? What's the right way to think about this?
So the right way to think about is what can I do now? What is something that I can do? And not to put yourself in a kind of a situation where you make money excuse to do maximum you can do. So as you mentioned, The reason why they didn't think through the details like that you are asking them. You said you ask them, but they don't have exactly like everything figured out. The reason why they don't have is because they stopped thinking about the problem they are solving. They just picture this money as a beginning and the end of all of the problems. If I throw money at it, it's going to go away. Money will solve all of my problems. I have this idea and then I just need money. There is nothing in between. So the way I say to the people is that money is usually not the leader. You are leading with the money. Money is the follower. So the money is attracted by great ideas, by some actual work. When we had one of our funds during the COVID, I remember, and we put a fund together that was buying some medical centers here in Australia. We just started with our own money and doing some things. And then I was just sharing with some of my friends about what we are doing. You know, at that time, telehealth started and we were playing with some technology to introduce if people can't go to clinics, see a doctor. That was even before telehealth became a thing. I was like, I had this idea like, wow, what if we make like Uber but for the doctors, where you like have a shortage of doctor, but let's say we have a system of connecting to the doctors, even if they are at home, they could take few calls, just like a Uber driver, you know, because the doctors are really scarce. We have a big shortage of doctors here in Australia. And so, you know, maybe especially like, let's say female doctor, she's pregnant, she's not at work, but maybe while baby is sleeping, she could do a few patients from the house. So you find this particular way to solve the problem, even without capital. So what started happening is that more I talk about this idea that we are trying and testing and in our clinics, a large fund from our neighboring country person contacted me. They said, we heard you're doing this and we are very interested. Can we make like a WhatsApp group just to get updates from you and then talk with my team? And we are very interested into what you are doing. And we would like to put some money into it. And I said to them, like, look, you know, I don't mind letting you know how we're doing, and all, but we are not interested to take the money. We just want to test it out. We are not yet there. I didn't want to take anybody money without clear path. What I'm going to do with that money, you know, I don't want to have a headache. You know, I don't want to take anybody money. I hate that part, you know, like it's a big
Mm,
responsibility. If I want to take your money, it's going to be like very clear why. And, you know, I figured out how it's going to go. But what I realized, and I share that story with a lot of people, is that I realized that there is money around looking for the idea, but you're not leading with the idea. You're not leading in what you can do. You're not pushing it. Of course, sometimes you need a little bit of access, you know, like sometimes it's not easy. You maybe don't have access, but you know, sometimes you can do something. You can do a little bit of something. You can make some steps. You can talk about, make a noise about it. There is a money around. Believe me, a lot of people contact me. Oh, I don't know where to invest the money. And then somebody says, I don't know where the people are with the money. Now, I don't put people together. I don't like to do that, you know, but I often feel like, wow, it's interesting. Like, they are two sides of the same coin. If this one knew about this one, he would do that. So I believe the money is money loves ideas. Money loves action. So if you can do anything to attract, that requires really going deep and finding as clear solution, as effective solution that you can, and then presenting to the people. So this is the game. This is the game. Where to present it. People have different expectations. Where is that money? What can you organize? Can you put yourself in front of the people? I say to the people, write the article today. You can make a video about something. You know, talk about the problem. Talk about what's going on. What is something that you see. But you need to make yourself. If you are going to attract the money, you need to show some initiative, some leadership that will put you in front of the people, and then do what you can. You know, do what you can to make again that minimum viable product. You can't make the app. Okay, make a sketch how it would look. We were this week at a conference, and I just floated the idea of financial literacy in the schools. And a friend of mine just made a mock-up of the whole thing, and I presented it, and just to see, for example, before I invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in this product. Are these schools, do they want to buy? And I just contacted one of my friends and I said, I hear you have these schools conference. I would love to, maybe present to them this idea 20 minutes. And, he said, yeah, sure. It's a good idea, something to talk to school about financial literacy. We can put you in this time slot. So I went there, presented, and already we see what is the interest from the school. What I said before, like what is the interest? Are they willing to buy, engage it? What is their feedback? So I didn't invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into the product, but just something simple can be done for free. There was no money needed, just a mock-up. These days, even AI generated half of the images, So it just a little bit of work with the Canva, you put it, looks nice. I have a friend who did the opposite. He was in a business and he was in the media. And after he finished his job contract, he had a lot of money that he wanted to do something. So he invested in one of these apps for the media. So he built this app for the media. He spent a lot of money, whole team in one country. I think it was in Indonesia, then in some other country. They didn't work. Then he changed the team, designers, and spent all of the almost money. And then I remember he, after nothing worked, he met some guy who is a journalist, and he started talking to him about the app and idea. And the guy explained to him in 5 minutes why that idea doesn't make any sense. And he says, if I only talk to this person to begin with, rather than just in my own bubble, developing this, I wouldn't waste this money. So, your idea, how well you are on the target, just because somebody has got the idea doesn't mean it. If nobody is biting, if nobody is like offering, if nobody is interested, maybe it's not just that great idea, because money will tell you commitment. So if your idea is good, if you thought through that, and if you are, trying, pushing it out, which is another skill set, not an easy thing. Where are these people? Where can I find them? Another little bit more, it requires work. But I believe that if there is something in it, people will start telling you. And we have all LinkedIn. You can find people in your own community. They don't have to be expert. And it's another thing. If I'm building an app or if I'm building a business, when I was starting my financial business, finance, I talked to the person who is the CEO of a language school. But he became like a mentor who would tell me, this, I would talk. And just I asked him, do you mind if we go for a coffee? I have a few questions. And a lot of people in your local community who might not be directly working, they might give you advice, talk to this person, go there, do this. They might be at your charity event, at your local community center, at your sports club. If you are a person has an idea, and you see this this guy is very influential. He's somebody in the community. You can ask him, hello, if you don't mind, I have this idea. I know you are seems like you are a very intelligent person. Everybody talk about you. Do you mind if I have a coffee with you? This is what I'm thinking to do. What do you think I should be doing? Do you have something? And if you are honest, nice, courteous, friendly, you will be surprised how many people say, well, maybe this, maybe that. Maybe they give you idea. Maybe they say, well, maybe if you do this. These people are successful for a reason. And so you take that on board and then you bring it and then you start something. And then they might tell you, look, I know the person who is in that industry. They might tell you even more. They might help you. And then you follow it up, connections, trust. You build a trust, build that feedback, and you don't know where that's going to lead. These are the kind of things. Do what you can, what is up to you, follow it through, connect with people, and you would be surprised how money can start coming, if people recognize that.
Thanks for sharing. There's a lot of people out there that might be listening to us today. A lot of people are, in fact, struggling with the high cost of living, difficult economic circumstances globally, and perhaps the feeling of being financially trapped. What advice do you have for them?
Feeling that you are trapped. In Islamic tradition, we have a prayer which is usually recited, that we ask God to save us from situation where we are depending on people, where we are heavy in debt, where we are overcome by these problems, anxieties and troubles, which means that this is a real situation that can paralyze a person. Sometimes it's not easy. You don't see the way out. And this is even more reason why you want to live life in a community and people who will somehow give you that spirit and encouragement to continue. The most important part usually is to look for, even if if it is some kind of a humble job, to take care of the basics. That's the number one thing, that taking care of the basics. Islam teaches that it's even the ones the Prophet said that even cutting some wood and selling the wood, you go to the mountain and chop some wood and sell it in the market. It's better than asking from people. So you want to preserve your dignity through your work, even if it is maybe looks like very humble job. I think when we are in that stage where we can't provide, it's very mentally difficult. And so I would say doing anything that is in the human mind capacity to solve that existential question. Looking for any job, nothing should be beneath us. Finding the ways, looking, whatever we can to kind of get ourselves from that situation. So personally, number one, saving, not overspending, trying to earn more, trying to find that other, maybe whatever opportunities are to make some money. Obviously, everybody's in different situation. The best is to learn some skills, to know, have something. There are a lot of people who are sort of offering get-rich-quick schemes. Do some forex, do some drop shipping, do some crypto trading. And most of the people lose the money because they are desperate. People are desperate and they want quick solution. So these sharks who offer the quick money, they take even the little that they have. So money can't fix it very like this kind of passive income, and you do sit and click and money comes. I recently watched the scheme that unfolded in Bosnia, where people were selling, like, you click on the YouTube likes and you are paid, I don't know, $1 every like or something. Like, who can believe in that? But people are so desperate that they believe that somebody will pay you for sitting and clicking and liking some videos on YouTube or something. This is unfortunately a lot of scams, a lot of things like that. It's hard to give general advice for what everybody can do, but looking at what you can do in terms of your career, maybe changing the job, finding the job, talking to the people, getting yourself from that situation. Today, with inflation, rising cost of living, everything is becoming more expensive. We can expect that the policies that we have seen until now, they continue. That government continue making. Most of the policies today are unfortunately very unethical. So monetary policies today that majority of the world is going for to solve inflation is by increasing interest rates. And the mechanism by which this works is by making money more expensive. Once you make money more expensive, economy shrinks, people lose the jobs. That is the intended consequences of monetary policies to increase interest rates. And the reason for that is when you have unemployment that starts increasing, people cannot also spend money because it's more expensive. Demand will lessen for the product. This is how they reduce the prices, not by increasing the goods in the market so that everybody can enjoy it, but by limiting who can afford it. So it's deeply unethical, flawed system. So we have to anticipate this, that it is getting more difficult for people who are at the lower socioeconomic scale. Those jobs are not just taken by AI and automation, but those jobs are taken just because the monetary policies, shrinking of economy, these are the first jobs to go in order to fight inflation in a very unethical way. So, saving wherever you can, preparing yourself, cutting the cost, and looking for the opportunity for a meaningful work. These are the general, things that I could think of. Unfortunately, I don't have any kind of a good news, but I would say anybody who is more higher up in the government should be thinking about how these policies are they actually helping us build economy, build the productivity, or are we actually all together as a world adopting certain policies that are deeply inhumane? And we are forgetting that, it doesn't make sense to harm the least, those who are least financially secure, so the price of apple or a bread for the rest who can afford is a little bit less expensive. So I think that for me, that is a little bit of a problem of ethics, this policy making, which I think contributes to the way we are addressing these economic problems.
I wanted to ask you, is there a specific cause or topic that you're passionate about and would like to share with our listeners?
I mean, there are a lot of issues and things that I'm observing. I think when I look at the family life, when I look at what's happening to the communities, to the local communities, I think I'm very concerned at concentration of decisions and the power either in the big businesses or too big government. I think local communities need to take back some of that control and some of that power and more decentralize the power where the product solutions are coming from. I feel that with the rise of bureaucracy and too big corporation and there's a bottleneck that is being created and I feel that communities that are working together, the families that are strong, where you have a mother and a father, and you have still working relationship. That's one of the things that I'm paying close attention.
Thank you. And finally, for those that are interested in learning more about your work and connecting with you, how might they do so?
I have on my website links, just my name and surname.com, and they can find the links on the YouTube. I talk some of these topics. I try to share some of my thoughts and engage with others to learn as well, so that I can get a better understanding of what is going on, where are we going, what are some of the trends. And so I enjoy the conversation with others, especially I enjoy live seminars or live events where I get to sort of get a sense from people really what is going on, and maybe we work together on some sort of constructive solution.
Great. Speaking of conversation, Almir, this conversation was insightful, educational, and refreshing. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the Product People podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was my pleasure.
I want to express my appreciation to our wonderful guest, Almir Colan, for sharing his valuable insights on ethical profitability. During our conversation, we discussed the role of trust in creating prosperity, principled financing, business funding models, servant leadership, the state of the economy, and the impact of monetary policies on people's lives. I found Almir's insights to be inspiring, meaningful, and educational, and I hope you did too. I want to express my gratitude to all our listeners. Your support means the world to me. If you found today's episode valuable, please hit subscribe, leave a review, or share this podcast with your friends. I also encourage you to share your feedback and your ideas on what topics you'd like to hear about next on this podcast. Your input is very important as it helps me learn and improve. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and until next time, stay courageous, creative, and compassionate. Take care.